who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing. This is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Well, hello.
Hello.
I'm Brendan Bailey, co-founder of World of Wonder. I'm here with Tom Campbell, our Chief Creative Officer.
Good morning, Fenton.
And as you might have gathered by now, no James St. James.
What?
I know. Instead, we have the amazing Blake Jacobs. You're standing in for James.
I am. My star is rising.
Big shoes to fill, sweetie. No pressure. But after your amazing debut the other week,
Thank you.
We just had to give James the boot.
Yeah, no, James is behind the camera. No, that would never happen. That would never happen.
Oh, James, we miss you, but hopefully he'll be back next week.
Yeah.
So, you know, what we do here is we count down the top. What a week. Just a crazy, every week
We
is
say
more
that
crazy.
every
I know.
week.
It's like there's nowhere to go. But every week we count down the top 10 things that made us go,
Wow.
And so let's launch into it without further ado. Tom, number 10.
Number 10.
Number 10, I have kind of a confession to make. I haven't watched the Olympics closely since about 1976. You know, you get clips, you read things, you got the internets. So on Saturday night, I had a lovely date night with my friend Robin because her husband and daughter are out of town, and after dinner we just went back to her couch and we kind of made out. No, we watched the Olympics.
Like 76.
Exactly, like 1976. I was still making out with girls
On the waterbed.
and I caught Gus Kenworthy's event, which I didn't even know existed. Now I know who Gus Kenworthy is because I follow him on Instagram, and he's cute and he's gay and he's out.
But what does he do?
It is called slope style. And I know everyone listening, everyone watching is like, it's like, Tom, there are cars with wheels, but it's sort of
slope
it's sort of,
style?
you know how like skateboard parks have all those ramps and high things.
Yeah.
You do it
Half pipes and things.
but you do it on skis, and the skis have tips that they go up in the front and they go up in the back. So you like flip over something, and then you are skiing backwards.
So it's like synchronized swimming, but on snow.
That
sort of.
Not really.
sounds like a knee injury waiting to happen.
It blew my mind. I thought it's been so long since I've seen the
Slope
Olympics
style.
that there are events I don't even know about.
Well, you know they have snowboarding.
I do,
Yes.
and this is kind of like snowboarding, but on skis.
It's crazy.
And they're tucking and it's sort of like diving meets skateboarding meets snowboarding. Anyway, that's just the embarrassing confession. It's nothing to do with number 10, which is just that, unfortunately, Gus Kenworthy, who last Winter Olympics got a silver medal, did not get a medal this time. Oh. But he had a kiss that was heard and seen around the world.
He's a medal winner in your heart.
He is.
He gets the gold.
And his boyfriend's name, I said I was going to remember it, Matthew Wilkes, who's really handsome.
Good thing James isn't here.
I know.
Otherwise he'd be squawking over.
Blake already saw, but isn't he a handsome man?
He's kind of hot. He is.
And there they are together holding hands. Now it's such.
How did the kiss happen? Like, what was the sort of setup for the kiss? Was it post-event, pre-event?
Bottom of the slope. It was just like he'd done his event. He didn't win, but they were there rooting him on. They had rainbow flags. They were like gay Olympics, and it was the quickest kiss on earth. It wasn't anything lurid, but it's such a step forward. And I know it's 2018, and I know we're on Radio Andy and Wow Report, and we're the gayest people alive, and somehow no one has, God forbid, done anything driving by. But this is the first Olympic gay kiss.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
That's crazy.
In 2014, when he competed, he was not out.
Right.
He was afraid to be out. He was afraid that he would lose his endorsements. Those are so important to Olympic athletes.
Did he have the same boyfriend? Do we know?
I don't know. I hope not. I hope he's like going from boyfriend to boyfriend, and he's going to land on me. Or at least Blake, so I can watch from a near distance.
We can all wish.
But it means a lot. So he didn't win, but we call him now Gus Kissworthy.
Yes.
Oh.
It kind of reminds me of, that episode of Will and Grace, not the new one, but old back in the day when they have the kiss on TV.
Oh, it was the Today Show.
Yeah, it's like the big deal that there was a gay kiss. It's kind of like that.
Which was 20 years ago.
Right.
And yet still, in real life, it's a big deal.
Right.
And this is where, and I know we're preaching to the choir here, but who knows? My cousin Mary might be listening. The the idea that...
Are you still friends with her on Facebook?
I am still friends with my friend, my cousin Mary, who is full of love, and we just disagree about gun control a lot, but which we'll talk about later. But everyone's like, you can be gay, but don't put it in our faces. It's like,
Well,
it's
that's what my mum used to say. Bless her.
Bless her.
I mean, rest in peace. But it was a different time.
Right.
Yes.
And it was like, she was always like, why do they have to shove it down our throats? And I, didn't say anything.
That's what a tongue is actually for. No, but like it is,
I wasn't thinking about a tongue.
to take a moment to, out of all the greatness at the Olympics and all the great things that are happening, to talk about this kiss feels still relevant, still is important, because when you can't, I just don't understand people who can't. Straight people or conservative people who can't put themselves in our shoes for a minute and think about what would it feel like to not be represented? What would it feel like not to see straight people kiss? What would it feel like to be ashamed to be who you are and love who you love? I know that seems like an old theme already, but it's not, right?
No, and this Olympics. I'm still obsessed with it. What is it about Winter Olympics and winter sports and snow?
Have you given that some more thought?
I haven't figured it out.
Snow fairies.
This is the
I don't
gay
know.
Olympics, right?
Yes.
And there's something about snowflakes. And
Yes.
I don't know.
And we talked a lot about Adam Lipon last week, and I just wanted to give, and we mentioned Gus, but I wanted to give him a little bit more of our love. And Adam and Gus, if you're listening, we're calling your people. We're talking
Aren't
to
we
you.
reaching out to them?
We are reaching out to them.
Speaking of
Definitely
the
for
gay,
Drag Race, but I think they'd make a great
I do too.
series.
Speaking of the gay Olympics, Tara Lipinski and Johnny Weir are commenting.
Yes.
Have you seen that meme where it's like, when did the Winter Olympics turn into the Hunger Games?
That's true. People calling him Liberace, all with love. Make them as gay and, may I
love
say,
it.
because I am one, faggy as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can see the Kiss on the Wow Report at worldofwonder.net/Radio Andy, and we'll have lots more about Gus and gay shenanigans in South Korea.
Squeal.
Squeal, exactly. Oh, James. I feel like there's an item for James that you like.
Maybe I'll have a reaction video of James watching the Wow Report this year. Yeah, okay.
Number 9, Blake.
Number 9.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about cheese.
Ooh.
Cheese, the food, the consumable cheese.
Yes, it has recently been discovered that cheese is as addictive as crack.
Well, I believe that because I'm a cheeseaholic.
I literally ate cheese by itself last night before I went to sleep.
No crackers, just
No crackers, just cheese,
Just
fold it up and eat it.
Oh, like the processed cheese.
slices.
Well, they're the 45 extra thin sliced, 45 calorie cheese.
So you can have like 1,000 and you've barely had
well, at least 20.
a tweenie.
And I got you guys a little something.
Oh,
Hang
thank
on.
you.
All right. I hope it's crack.
Yes, I know. If it's cheese, I'm just going to throw it in his face.
I want crack.
I got you a cheese plate.
Oh, so classy.
I know.
Oh, my.
Isn't it?
I was expecting
thank
kind
you.
of a wooden board with
I
some
was with
brie
a knife
and
a little,
stuff.
A little fig
What
preserve.
are
and-
our types of cheese here? Do
They
you
were
know?
sold out of those at the grocery store this morning.
Oh, there's some
Oh,
fruit.
that's nice.
It's
Yeah,
not.
I'm just going to.
We've got
Yeah.
Monterey Jack
I
cheese.
think that's what this. Oh, it's stuck. Oh.
We've
dig.
got a Colby Jack,
I'm going for the Colby Jackie. 2 hands.
a Swiss, and a mild cheddar. And just because I wanted you guys to get all your food groups or a healthy breakfast.
Oh, thank
I got
you.
you a fruit too, because you're a fruity.
I saw this study, and I sort of did a little investigating because it seems that the study was a while ago, came out, and apparently it's not true. Like
You made me break my diet for nothing.
they said that what they asked participants to do was report which foods in the list were most difficult to cut down on, and it was highly processed foods with added fat and refined carbohydrates like that. Ice cream, French fries, cookies. Those were the things at the top of the list, and cheese came sort of somewhere in the middle.
I'm going to eat fast before you debunk this whole thing.
Well, what food is most like your crack? I mean, is it cheese or
Me, it's chocolate.
chocolate?
Yeah.
I guess for me it's sweet and savory because I love a pizza. I've said it before. I'll say it again.
I'm like the plainest eater in the world, and I can eat cheeseburgers with mayonnaise only every day of my life.
Ooh.
And McDonald's French fries.
They have something.
There is like crack in those, I
Yes.
Not only are you cheap, you're a cheap date.
think. Yeah.
I mean, this is not scientific at all, but there are people who can't stay away from cheese.
Yeah, no, that's me.
Yeah, so
I
like a
definitely-
cheese board, you'll eat the whole thing.
Yes, and I love
Women,
stinky
I find
cheeses.
like cheese. I don't know why. I probably think like women. There's lots of women in my life, and it's the same thing as like. I know this is not scientific, but you know how people will swear off gin or swear off tequila?
Yeah.
Because they both have hallucinogenic properties.
Oh.
They can get inside of you. So they like. There's something about that. No one swears off vodka. Until you get to be me, but you really hit rock bottom. But people who drink will continue drinking. And I feel cheese with my same scientific observational powers, mostly at cocktail parties. People love the cheese. I like the sensation.
It's the mouthfeel.
Yes.
So that's why I like chocolate. I love that mouth, like peanut butter. It's that same sort of orgy in the mouth. But this is science apparently, which is that there's a protein in dairy products called casein, and when broken down, casein releases substances called casomorphins, which have an addictive effect on the brain, similar to that of morphine. Apparently, science. I don't
So
know.
it's not crack. It's morphine.
Morphine. Tell her I said hi.
Because there
Morphine.
is cheese on pizza, I think.
I think so.
I think so, from Domino's. And it does put me to sleep. It's my sleeping pill. It's a 2,000 calorie sleeping pill every night. That's a problem.
Well, a study was done by the University of Michigan, and we'll post it online so you can.
Now
go
that you've
check out
debunked it,
yourself.
why waste your time?
Well, I'm afraid it's
Fake news.
fake news. And it's also one of those things, in the internet, space-time doesn't really exist. So this study came out years ago, and it's just every now and then the story bubbles back up to the surface,
All right. Okay, we
So-
need to check our sources. I think a Russian spread this.
I want to, it's really good for puns, though. We should be more carefully what we say.
Do they have cheese in Russia?
Sure.
Camembert. I know it's a little grating.
Oh, I don't have one. I'm feeling so bad.
Number 8.
Number 8.
I went to see Black Panther.
I did
Oh,
too.
I want to see it.
Oh my golly gosh. I don't know what they're doing over at Marvel, but like every one of their action superhero comic, well, that's all they make actually. It isn't all they don't make The Color of Water or Call Me By Your Name.
Right.
But anyway, any movie they make just seems to get better and better and more sophisticated, more advanced and more less like a blockbuster and more like an amazing film.
Yes.
And did you see it?
I saw it and I loved it.
I loved it. I loved it. I loved it.
What's the director's name? I'm terrible.
Oh.
I have to get my notes
Oh,
up.
Ryan Coogler, who did Fruitvale Station. Now, this is the weirdest thing because, well, it's not weird. Before Thor Ragnarok, which was our last movie, was directed by Taika Waititi, who is an independent filmmaker. And the same thing with Ryan Coogler. He did Fruitvale Station, and then he did Creed, and then he did this. I mean, it's like from 0 to 100.
I know. His third film.
I
He's
know.
31
He's
years
12 years old,
He's
right?
31 years old.
And aren't all three? Isn't Michael B. Jordan in all three
yes,
films?
and we have to talk about that because I was transfixed by Michael B. Jordan. I mean, he's been in the other films. I'm like, oh, okay,
Right.
he looks okay, but there was something so fucking hot about. I don't know.
I think
what
it was bare-chested muscle. I'm just going out on a limb
Do
here
you know what?
as I eat another piece of cheese.
That was very hot with all the dots on his skin. That was hot.
Yeah.
But that wasn't. I was just smitten from the moment he appeared on, whether it was the hair or something, just so smoking hot. To me, I mean, this is my one criticism of the movie. It was almost distracting. I kind of couldn't concentrate. I kind of wasn't interested in anyone else. I just wanted to drool. It's like back in the day, Brad Pitt had the same effect on me. Where I kind of didn't care what was happening.
Right.
I was just dribbling happily.
Well, thank God he
gurgling.
wasn't in the entire movie. So there
If
was a couple
only.
scenes
I
you
was
could
like-
have.
I was enraged every time he left the screen. I was like, bring him back. But he also plays this incredibly nuanced, complicated villain character who actually, spoiler alert, makes a really good point about what's going on in.
Wakanda.
Thank you. Because Wakanda's walled itself off in Africa. It's a secret place because they're hiding all their supplies of vibranium. Vibranium? Yeah.
Vibranium.
Yeah. And that's kind of like a weird, the hero, the villain is saying you need to open up to the world and take this technology out there. And of course that's, well, I don't want to ruin the film for you, but it doesn't really matter what happens in the film because it's just about Michael B. Jordan. for me.
Yeah, it's really moving. I mean, I don't usually kind of tear up or get goosebumps at points. And, this is a white guy talking, but there's that moment where the Black Panther's coming. The first time he returns
Wakanda.
Yes. And he says this never gets old, and he breaks through the African plains into this future city that somehow respects African art and also is incredibly futuristic. And the fantasy that somewhere in the heart of Africa there is a nation of uncolonized, pure, celebrated African Americans. That idea just rushed over me, and there was a couple of times during the movie where just things were so kind of beautifully put. But who
are also super powerful and highly advanced and so way ahead of everybody else. I mean,
and this is the other thing that you hear and has been proven, and it sounds like a broken record to liberal people, but it's like until you can see yourself kissing on television, or being a scientist who's African American, or being a hero who's African American, or queen or king, you don't. They talk about when I forget what, but when certain movies, when there's someone plays a part or a profession, suddenly that everyone does that profession. Like after Hunger Games, archery for women went way up. So it's like the pop culture does have an influence on what we do and what people can believe and see and dream, and this does that.
It's so funny you say that.
Effectively.
Growing up, I didn't believe in role models. I thought the whole idea was poppycock, but it is to see yourself, even if you don't necessarily like that reflection. For example, I've never necessarily always loved the gay movies. I like Brokeback Mountain. I'm like, that's not me. Or Call Me by Your Name, which I've still refused to see. But where am I going with this? I'm not quite sure.
You weren't into role models, and now you changed your mind a little bit?
Yes. I've seen the light.
Well, and maybe you don't know until we don't know because we've always had someone on screen. Like I saw a meme of two little boys who happened to be black, and they were looking at the poster, and it's like, that's me. And the thing is, this is the reason we needed this movie, so little boys could have someone to look up to.
And I think there were maybe two Caucasian characters, and you recognize them the way that black people must be like, there's the one black person in this movie.
Well, I love, there's a great line where someone greets him and says, "Hello, colonizer."
Yes. The star of the movie is the princess, right? Is what's
Lupita?
No, I love
Angela
her.
Bassett.
But
everybody in it is amazing.
Yeah.
Who was the woman?
Chadwick Boseman, who was in Marshall that you saw.
Right.
Yes. But who was his sister who had all the gadgets? Oh my God. I'm an idiot. I can't remember her name. I'll remember after the break. But she made me laugh so hard. She had the "Hello, colonizer." She was funny, and she did all the cyber driving. I love the effects. I bought into the legend. It felt really good. Interesting, my trainer, Marcus, who happens to be African American, went with his girlfriend on Friday, and I went and saw it on Sunday. And he said to me on Saturday, he said, he goes, "You might want to go to the whitest theater you can." Like, he had fear that people would, a gunman or something might attack a theater filled with African Americans watching a movie, which hadn't crossed my mind.
And then there were those trolls out there who claimed to have been beaten up. And
yes, there was like fake bots or something. People claiming that there was violence at the screenings, which there was not.
Right.
However, at the ArcLight where I saw it at the Dome on Sunday at 4:30 in the afternoon, sold out crowd. There was some gun scene at 1:30 in the morning at the ArcLight parking lot, and they shut it down to 4:30 in the morning. So they were doing their job and being safe. But what a crazy fucking world we live in. But what a great movie.
Amazing movie.
You need to see it.
Breaking records everywhere. It's the most discussed movie on Twitter ever, number one. It's the second biggest comic book superhero opening weekend. It's the biggest solo superhero launch of all time. In this holiday weekend, it did 52% more than Deadpool, 148% more than 50 Shades of Grey, $235 million. It was made for $200. I mean, it's like... It is a rocket-powered success story, and about time too. It's interesting. I read a review, and they said that it was like Michael B. Jordan. I'm sorry, I'm just obsessed.
Yes.
They said his performance was like Alan Rickman's in Die Hard. Which was a similarly magnetic
scene stealer.
Yes.
Yeah.
But actually, for me, it was like Keanu Reeves in Speed. Because Keanu Reeves is fine, hot, good looking, but in Speed, whatever it was he did, it was just a whole night. It was
The
next
right
level.
role, the right performance,
Yes,
the right time.
the right haircut or something. I don't know.
You're so deep. And then the last thing, and this is just and if you've probably already seen it, but if you haven't, it's not just a political statement. It is a great movie. It's a beautiful movie. It's a compelling movie. And now they, Hollywood that said you couldn't have black leads because they don't play in China. With this movie, with Hidden Figures, even with Coco, which was the Mexican themed animated Pixar film, they've broken all these records, which proves if you give product to underserved audiences, they will come and the mass audience will come.
I think when they were writing the original comic, he was given direction to put more white people into it. So in the next episode, he basically had them massacre the KKK.
Yeah, there's like an army of KKK people.
That's great. And then, of course, this always excites me is the MCU, the Marvel Comics universe, because all this is leading to Infinity War, right? Which is the sort of where all the characters come together to face down Thanos, the evil space god.
Dude, are you straight? Like all of a sudden, he just leaped into like a quantum leap into like
He looked at me, I'm
nerddom.
like,
It's gonna have Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Of course, is who's the Doctor Strange guy? That great actor, Benedict Cumberbatch. Iron Man, Spider-Man, Captain America, Black Panther, Hulk, Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, I don't quite know what they're going to do after that because,
Right.
what do you do? What do you do? What do you do?
They'll reboot it. There'll be new people.
All right, so we have to take a quick break. Blake, you've got a trivia question for us, right?
Well, I have like 3.
Oh.
We are.
I've got one for you too.
I wonder if they're the same ones.
Let's see.
What actor fought to play Black Panther through most of the 90s?
Oh,
Okay.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. And we're doubling our
Yeah,
fun.
double the trivia
Okay.
today. How many pounds of cheese does the average American eat per year?
How dare you?
You're listening to Wow Report on Radio Andy, SiriusXM. We'll be right back.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
Hey, welcome back to the Wow Report, which is our countdown of the top 10 things that made us go, wow! This week, we post all the stories on the Wow Report, worldofwonder.net/Radio Andy. You can listen to us anytime on the Sirius app, but also you can watch us on the YouTubes, right?
Yep. Wow Presents on YouTube.
We're in our Hollywood Boulevard studio. It's just like Entertainment Tonight, but cheaper.
Nobody's here. It's just us. I just want one correction.
Yeah.
Letitia Wright is the actress who is so fucking funny.
She's like the Bond Q
Yes,
figure
and his
with all the
sister, and has
technology.
so many funny lines. And yeah, anyway, that's
Okay.
homage to her.
And then before the break, Blake, you asked us.
I asked what actor fought to play Black Panther through most of the 90s.
I'm going to say Wesley Snipes.
I was gonna say Wesley Snipes.
And you got it.
Yeah,
kidding.
No, that's
he would
it.
in the '90s. He would have been perfect.
Oh, yeah, I would. Yeah.
He even fought up until like 03, but then he was already Blade, so they were like, we don't want you to play two
Why did it take
superheroes.
them so long to make it, do you think?
I don't know.
For all the
that's-
reasons we're talking about.
And they have a lot of track to lay because they've got this sort of uber ultimate universal experience.
But wait, we don't have just one trivia question. We've doubled down.
How many pounds of cheese does the average American eat each year?
20.
How many pounds?
Pounds, yeah.
No, I'm going to say like 5.
Then I'm gonna say 20.
You're both wrong. It's 35
Oh
my
pounds,
God.
which is a small to medium-sized carry-on piece of luggage, 7 reams of copy paper, or 560 pencils.
I think I ate that last night before bed.
So, counting down, we've reached numbers. So, do you need a moment to chew?
I'm good.
So cheesy.
Fromage.
Number 7.
Number 7, Doc.
Number 7.
Mr. Rogers from the PBS show Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood has passed away a long time, in 2003, but he's bigger than ever. This week is the 50th anniversary of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Now I have to ask because it premiered in 1968, which I was 5 years old. Do the math. Now, what did Mr. Rogers mean in the UK?
We didn't have it in England. And here's the thing. I need educating about this because I've seen a few episodes and I hate to say it. It's heresy. I think it's creepy.
Okay.
Is that okay?
I completely agree. It is creepy, but I guess growing up with him, it's also kind of like a lullaby. Or,
But you did grow up with him, and you saw it.
I was negative 14 in 1968.
Yes, but it kept repeating.
Yeah.
They say like 4 or 5 generations have grown up in America with Mr. Rogers. Now, he is a little creepy, and Eddie Murphy did his take on Mr. Rogers in the 80s, and it kind of made fun of him, took the piss out of it. There's something, and it started happening in the last year, kind of in a Trump reaction, that people were pulling up all these memes from Mr. Rogers because he was the nicest guy in the world and sweet and vulnerable in a way that we mock. That when the 70s came along in the 80s, but with Trump, and there's this great meme that I have to lean on, which he said when he asked his mother when horrible things happen, you'd see an accident by the side of the road, or now we have school shootings. He said, you know, what do you do? What do you think about it? And he goes, look at the helpers. Look at people who are helping, which I don't know, like that, like helps me put my mind someplace, not to ignore the issue, but to just find some way to put my feet in the ground and get through the day. Right. But Mr. Rogers, you know, come in 68. You have to remember, we had a black and white TV. Right. There were 3 channels: ABC, CBS, NBC, and PBS. And PBS was in the afternoon. There wasn't Nickelodeon for kids. There was Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood before Sesame Street. I was a little too old for Sesame Street. But Mr. Rogers, you know, would come in. He would sort of have his play. He'd take off his blazer, put on his sweater, take off his shoes, put on his sneakers, all the while singing. And I had 2 of my first albums were Mr. Rogers albums. Wow. And there were songs like... I've had a lot of cheese today. I like you as you are. I wouldn't want to change you or even rearrange you, not by far. ILIKEYOU. Oh. I like you as you are.
He wrote
I
music
like you
too,
as
didn't
you
he?
are.
Yeah, he
wrote
did.
I like you as you are. And won't you be my neighbor? And he would talk about things he'd have people in. There's a great clip also with him with Margaret Hamilton, who was the Wicked Witch from...
Oh, yeah.
And he had the actress in to sort of just to let kids know that she's an actress, that she could do the cackle, that it was okay, sort of demystifying, you know, a lot of the stuff that kids are scared about. And the best part was the land of make-believe, when that trolley would come. By the way, the opening credits, which I think you would love, I know it's a weird thing to watch as an adult, but you were kind of observant, is they have that fly over the neighborhood, but it's all kind of like a, you know, it's miniatures. I just thought it's like little cars and matchboxes I was into and little houses. But that trolley would go to the land of make-believe, and there were all those puppets, all voiced by him. And of course, I loved meow, 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 pussycat. Meow, 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 grand.
I suppose it's sort of pre-irony and pre-sarcasm and cynicism. And I judge myself for like finding it creepy because obviously he was so sincere. But
in
he was such
hindsight,
a wise person.
I'm sure the pacing and the production value is very kind of off-putting. But it was, and he's just, and I think there's so many projects coming up. So there's 50th anniversary. There's a documentary that's coming out in March on PBS.
Morgan Neville directed it.
Who did 20 Feet from Stardom, which was that great background. Won't You Be My Neighbor? That's coming out. It's got 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
That's the documentary, sorry.
Yeah.
And then the PBS special, Mr. Rogers, It's You I Like, comes out in March. And there's a movie where Tom Hanks will be playing Mr. Rogers, which seems kind of great casting. And then, and we'll have to show it, but you have to look here. It's there's a stamp being issued on March 23rd. And it's a forever stamp, and it's him with King Friday the 13th.
Oh, yes.
Which there was a contest once to make your flag for King Friday the 13th's castle. So I took a paintbrush from a used paintbrush from our pencil holder, and I used paper and pencil because I didn't have a lot of art supplies, and I sent it to PBS. And my brother lied once when I was away from the room because I would watch every night waiting to see it would start on the flag, and my brother said, I saw your flag. I think he lied. But and this is, I'm going to leave with this song. I know you guys love it when I sing. This was King Friday the 13th's rendition of Row Your Boat. Propel, propel, propel your craft swiftly down liquid solution. Ecstatically, 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 ecstatically. Existence is merely an illusion. The things you remember, right?
Mr. Rogers wrote that?
Yes.
Oh.
Propel, propel. And my brother and sister and I can, like, they were dealing with their little brother. They were being sweet. But my sister and I will still do, like, meow, 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 pussycat. Meow, 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 grand.
The movie is based on an article written in Esquire by Tom Juno. And I read the article. He's a fantastic writer. He wrote The Falling Man, the whole thing about the guys jumping out of World Trade Center, which is a little dark, but he's a fantastic magazine feature writer, and I had no idea that he. Well, his mother knit his sweaters, right?
Yeah.
Did you know?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and
Every
it was,
Christmas.
Yes, but then, and I guess this is just rumor, he was supposed to have been a U.S. Navy SEAL with 25 confirmed kills to his name.
Yeah, I read that was fake.
Oh, okay.
Fake news.
I'm the spreader of fake
And
news.
cheese
I've
is
been
like
got-
crack.
I've been gotten to a Russian
really
box.
have.
But and that he wore the sweaters to cover up the tattoos and on his forearms and biceps from his past life.
Yeah, that's fake news too.
Okay, well, this one's true. He said he went into television because he hated it. So
Yeah.
he saw it. And there were people throwing pies at each other, and he was like, "Yeah."
It's also a video of him. I mean, it's all going to come out in the documentaries
Yeah.
and the films, but him testifying in front of Congress.
Oh,
And
that was an
Yeah.
amazing moment, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
And that
I
was
mean-
really early on when he first started, like 1968 or 69.
in defense. So I mean, it's easy to make fun of him. I
Right.
understand. I you were just telling me you can watch it.
Every episode I saw was available on Amazon.
Oh wow! Well,
So
great.
I'll watch again. I'll probably be
Yeah.
creeped out, but my memories are so warm and loving.
Do you
for
know how
Mr.
many were
Rogers.
in black and white?
100.
Just 5 episodes, the first 5 episodes.
And they went color. I didn't know because I had a black and white set until 1976. Thanks, Mom and Dad.
So that's Mr. Rogers celebrating from the great beyond his not 50th. What's a half century? Ah, it's a half century.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on to number 6, Blake.
Number 6.
I want to talk a little bit about The View.
The ABC perennial talk show, The View. What could
What
be
had they done?
wow about The View?
Well, you know, Joy Behar recently came out and made some comments about Vice President Pence's religion, saying that if he talks to Jesus, he must be mentally disabled.
Well, she was commenting on the fact that he said he hears from Jesus, and she said, well, if he hears from Jesus, because when he talks to Jesus and then he waits to hear from Jesus, and if he hasn't heard from Jesus, she's like, if you hear from Jesus, this means you're insane. You hear voices.
And then Meghan McCain spoke up and said, no, I mean, Jesus talks to me every morning.
You know,
So people are upset about this.
Yes, people are up in arms. People on my Arkansas Facebook are really wanting The View to end.
Cousin Mary
Oh yeah.
posted on Facebook, who I love, who loves me.
But you don't get into it with her.
Take The View. No, because I was thinking, should I rebuttal or should I just never talk to her again? I was like, I will talk to her again. But she one of those memes where it's just like, I don't like The View. Ask, share this if you want The View to be off the air. Now, I've said it before. I helped launch
I was going to say, how
The
does that make you
View.
feel?
And I just think it's funny because I think if my cousin, from my Facebook, she must know I work on RuPaul's Drag Race with a bunch of drag queens, and that I, was with The View. So,
She wants you.
she wants to be
Off.
the air. She loves me, she says. But Joy Behar was one of the originals. I think she's the only original person
Yeah.
who's still on. And Joy Behar is so smart and so funny. And I always said, with no disrespect to the others, because I'm friends with Debbie and Barbara Walters is my hero. But Joy Behar, if I had to be on a tropical island, I would be a deserted island. I would be with Joy because she's just funny.
She's
and
hilarious.
smart, and
smart.
and again, once again, I mean, she's a comedian. She's also a talk show host. She can get flack. And I don't want to make fun of anybody's religion, but the problem I have, because I was raised Catholic and I have Christian relatives, and I think I told you, not to be silly, but when I was at the Fantasia concert and it was all this Jesus talking, I felt the spirit in the room. I was like, not kidding. Like there is a way to, but there's lots of ways to get spirit in the room. What I don't like is the idea that if you don't accept Christ as your savior, then you're damned to hell. I don't buy that shit. So, Joy can have an opinion and it doesn't destroy your religion.
Well, I don't know if you guys watched it, but it wasn't even that bad. She even said, like, I don't want to talk, or I apologize, or something about, like, I don't want to make fun of his religion, but...
Yeah, she was setting up a joke. And crazy people throughout history have been told to do things by God.
Well, it's not a good idea.
No, you need to check with other people. If God tells you to do something, Meghan McCain, double check with me. Give me a call, and I'll tell
it's
you.
often the case that people who go kill people, God told them to
Right,
do it.
or
So-
dogs, or God. It's like there's called schizophrenia.
Well, and those people's president mocked mentally
It's not an even playing field. And, we do live in a time, and we all know this too, where everybody's looking for something to match what offends them. How many people have even heard what Joy said? Probably none of them. They just I hate that Joy for making fun of Christians and my faith. And I always like to think that, your faith has to be stronger than that. Your faith has to be stronger than a joke.
Your faith has to be able to take a joke, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or just be able to survive what other people say. It's not a fragile thing if you really believe in the power of God. The other thing that was posted by said cousin was this idea. Well, we're talking this later. We'll get to this later. But it was the idea that there was that meme that's going around, which is, why didn't God help in the school shooting? Because schools won't let God in. And it's that really tweaks the mind in terms of...
Tweaks the mind or causes one to be enraged. I mean, that's what it does to me. I just go I feel my hackles.
But do you even defend that? Or do you just... is God stays outside? He's a vampire that must be invited in? What? Who's your God?
But it's all clearly nonsense. There's no such thing, and he's not there, and he won't be there, whether he's locked in, shut out, invited in, the whole thing is so fucking bonkers. I mean, that's the problem. And people, not to mock people's faith, but you cannot really believe this shit for real when you somehow use it all to excuse the fact that 17 people are shot in cold blood by a lunatic with an automatic weapon. Mm-hmm. It makes no sense.
I believe in having faith in a higher power and relying on it in times where things don't make sense.
Sure.
But don't use it as a weapon against other people or against logic
that
or
higher
against
power
safety.
Is not going to go into a school. It's the higher power is a mind-bending concept that is essentially immaterial in the sense you can't summon it, you can't pray to it, you can't have it do your bidding, it can't give you lots of money. It's as though
things that make you go
well, number 5.
Number 5.
Everything Sucks. Yes. Everything Sucks is actually a Netflix series. James isn't here, so I got to do the Netflix series.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a comedy, I guess, and it's really interesting. It's this sort of coming of age. What is it about America that is so obsessed with high school experiences and this sort of endless dwelling on coming of ageness? It's what the fuck? I mean, it's weird to me. Anyway, this must be the trillionth coming of age high school thing. I actually really quite liked it. It's this one set in the 90s, and people are saying it's like Stranger Things, but without the beasties and the ghoulies.
Right.
And a lot of people really like it. Billy, my husband, who I guess grew up in the 90s, just was weeping openly. Nolan, who's 11, was watching it as some sort of archaeological curiosity.
Sure.
And I was just a bit bemused by the whole thing. I mean, it was nice, and a character's a lesbian, and a kid is making a film, and single parents.
The audio-visual geeks. I watched a little bit of the first episode.
Right.
It's beautifully cast. The kids are really interesting. And unique looking. They're not just beautiful. They really did an amazing job of casting the kids.
Yeah.
But it's sort of funny to think about our obsession with high school. Does that mean I always feel like I peaked in high school personally. So maybe, I don't know. But you had such a horrible experience.
Yes, nightmare. It was like sort of Harry Potter without the magic. And one of those sort of gothic boarding schools with beatings and pedophiles and things of that nature. I mean, the whole thing was so hideous. It's why on earth you'd want to go back and commemorate it? I guess, maybe I was just traumatized and just sort of scarred. And
But you don't think the same amount of, or the same percentage of storytelling in the UK is about...
No,
high school
it
years.
really isn't. I mean, there's Tom Brown's School Days, which is a Victorian novel. I mean, that's the last. There really isn't that much. Brideshead Revisited. I don't know.
I loved this show.
Everything Sucks.
Yeah, I love the music, and I was actually. This is the same age as I was. In fact. The first episode...
It spoke to you.
The first episode was my 14th birthday. It says September 27th, 1996. And I felt so much like the lesbian girl. Yeah. Because my parents worked at school. Right. My dad had passed away. I was gay. So I really liked it.
Were you the only gay?
I'm sure I wasn't the only one, but
Did you feel like you were?
yes.
Did you have like gay, not gay hookups, but like, did you have a
Yes.
relationship?
No.
No. You had.
Do you have
But
one
there
now?
No.
Just teasing.
No, I
were you
don't.
out in high school?
No, I didn't come out until I moved out here.
You
Actually.
came to World of Wonder.
Yeah, I became the
If you're
outturn.
not gay, we'll make you gay, right?
Yeah, that's what we do.
But yeah, I loved this show, and I'll probably go back and watch the rest of it.
Well, and I'm sure there has to be a season 2, right?
I hope
mean,
so.
Definitely has to be. I mean, it's great. There was, they were saying that as one of the cast members was speaking, that they were all made to listen to hits of the 90s, and she says we all, who was it? Let me give her. Actually, I can't remember.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
I can't remember who it was, but she said, we all memorized and fell in love with the Oasis single Wonderwall. It was one of those songs that on our rap day, we started crying and singing out loud as we were riding on the bus back home. And, I'm the miserable bitch because I hated Wonderwall. I never understood
I loved
Oasis. I was like,
it.
what is the point? But they also have Ace of Base.
Oh, did
Wonderful
they?
Life. They sort of rescue that song.
Yes.
And they also rescue Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Oh, and I said, what about?
So,
Wasn't that 2 years ago? Was that the 90s?
I
all blurs
loved
together
that
for me.
last scene too. In the first episode, they were don't look back in anger, and her dad walks in, and she's about to masturbate.
I love that you used
I
like
know.
about to.
I know.
Woo, for
Well,
this, he just sort of
would've
shook
gone
his
like
hand.
this, but I don't know.
Oh
what
yeah,
to do
well,
there.
yeah. We're trying to
Well,
learn.
that's episode 2.
The end of episode 1.
Okay. Everything Sucks is now streaming on Netflix. So we got to take a quick break. Blake, what have you got? Have you got a
But we
trivia
have
question?
double
We
trivia.
have double
Blake
trivia.
and Fenton both
I
came
do.
prepared with trivia.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yes.
This one's good.
could
I
be
have
wrong
2
twice.
good ones.
Oh, okay.
What famous actor who has seen a resurgence in his career in the past couple of years got his start in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood as a puppeteer and trolley conductor?
Oh.
And
That's really
also,
good.
what 90s TV show did Mr. Rogers make a guest appearance on as a pastor's mentor?
As a pastor's mentor. So now we're gonna have 3
Yeah,
questions.
I'm afraid so.
All right,
yes.
here we go.
Because mine is also a Mr. Rogers question.
Okay.
It is, actually, there's 2. How many episodes of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood are there?
All right, that's the third
Mhm.
question.
And this is a really good one. How much did Mr. Rogers weigh?
Oh,
There's a significance to this.
I know it, actually.
Here we go.
You're listening to Wow Report on Radio Andy, SiriusXM. We'll have the answers after the break.
Can't wait.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton Bailey, co-founder at World of Wonder. I'm here with Tom Campbell.
Yeah.
I think it's you.
Yeah, Thomas.
You're wearing a lovely emoji hat.
Hello.
And millennial producer Blake Jacobs.
Hello.
James St. James is not here, and you know why? I know why. Because he would never allow us to have 6 trivia questions.
He'd be like, stop right now.
But we do. We have a lot of them. So go
We're
ahead.
packing them in while he's gone.
When the cat is away.
Okay. So my question was like, how many episodes of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood are there?
500.
Well, I kind of know,
know?
but I'm gonna guess like
okay.
around 860 something.
Oh, you're like just pretending to like get close, but not quite right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that would be 895. Right?
Ding, ding, ding,
Yeah,
ding.
that's a lot of shows, right?
Yeah, it's a lot.
And then I wanted to, well, you do yours. You do. It's like Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah, back and
You
forth.
do yours.
What famous actor who has seen a resurgence in his career in the past couple of years got his start on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood as a puppeteer and trolley conductor?
I'm going to say Michael Jordan. I have no idea.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
Michael Keaton.
Yes.
Yep.
Wow.
That's I knew. I remember that. Thank you. Okay,
Yeah.
now yours. Let's keep it
Oh,
going.
yeah.
Let's keep it going.
Okay.
We're on the air.
How much did I know? How much did Mr. Rogers weigh? And the significance of this that he weighed the same amount, basically his entire career.
So those sweaters fit him like a glove forever. I'm going to say 169 pounds.
143.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you know, bitch? Do you know why?
He liked to weigh that amount,
Yes,
right?
and do you know why? Because it takes 1 letter to say I, 4 letters to say love, and 3 letters to say you. I love you. I mean, that's when I realized there's a profound. The simplicity of Mr. Rogers is actually truly profound. And he himself said, better that than something that's dazzling and superficial. And he was very simple and yet so profound. I felt taken aback in a sense of being, oh, you're just a cynical, withered old
I will take the
bitch.
cynical crown and say, or is that an eating disorder? I'm sorry. I love you, Mr. Rogers. I love you.
One more.
Last one. Okay.
What CBS 90s TV show did Mr. Rogers make a guest appearance as a pastor's mentor?
Was it Seven? What's it called? Seventh Heaven?
Evening Shade.
No, that was ABC.
That was CBS.
Oh,
Burt Reynolds, Evening Shade. Don't fuck with me.
It was Linda Bloodworth Thompson. Evening Shade is in Arkansas, actually.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
All right.
I feel so educated.
This is a show where you really learn something. Okay, so we're counting down the top 10 things that made us go, wow, this week. We've reached number 4, Tom.
Number 4.
I like to use my wows for good. Like, wow, that was good. Like, wow, what the TF was that? But I'm sort of straddling because I'm 2 episodes in to HBO's Here and Now, which one of the reviews says is a mess, but an interesting mess. And I'll go with that. I need other people's words. It's created by Alan Ball, who, of course, created 6 Feet Under. Were you a big 6 Feet Under fan?
I wasn't.
Are you a big 6 Feet Under fan? Yeah. He also, without giving away where his home is, I believe, urban rumor is, he has a palatial estate in the hills that used to be owned by All I Want to Do Is Have Some Fun. Sheryl Crow. And he has restored it. I see it as I'm hiking someplace. So he's doing very well.
To restore it to Sheryl Crow's original vision.
No, the amount of detail, just because I'm peeking over walls, it's very illegal what I'm doing. But his attention to detail is amazing. So thank you, Alan Ball, for using all of your 6 Feet Under for that. And now I understand why he has to have a new show.
To pay for it all, right?
The cast is kind of unbelievable. I mean, it's very pedigreed. Tim Robbins plays the father, and Holly Hunter plays his wife. And they live in Portland, Oregon, so it's sort of a new setting. And he's a college professor, kind of having a midlife crisis at 60. And she is kind of playing Holly Hunter, that role that she gets, which is like she's just too much. But I just tell you how beautiful Holly Hunter has aged, how beautiful she looks. I love her hair. I love her body. Okay, I'm hot for Holly Hunter. I don't know what happened. She got hotter as she got older. There, I said it. But they have 4 children. 3 are adopted. They're ultra liberals, and they adopted a son from Vietnam, a daughter from Liberia, and another. And is it 3 or 4? I forget now. But they because America had bad issues with those countries, so they adopted children from them.
This is a comedy, right?
It's
like,
it's a dark comedy?
Okay.
Question mark. And in the pilot, the father's turning 60. He's having an affair with a prostitute on the way to the party. The mother's obsessed with. There's so much social commentary going on. She's obsessed with perfection. She gathers this large Latin group of helpers who are making the party in their beautiful, sumptuous home, and then tells them to hurry up, get done, and leave. And the daughter's like, it's because you don't want anyone to know you have help, you know, that kind of thing. And the daughter, the African American daughter, who's married, we find out has a kid, is flirting with. She works at a fashion brand, and she's flirting with this really hot male model, and he has coke. So she and her brother, who's the Vietnamese, who is a heartless kind of life coach, and we see him in action. And suppose he doesn't have sex, although he has sex in the second episode. They go and do coke and hang out with this guy who thinks he's going to get laid, but then he goes to the father's 60th birthday party. The father's very bummed, and he ends up having sex with their one biological child, played by Soshi Bacon, who is Kevin Bacon and Kira Sedgwick's daughter in real life, and she's a virgin, so she puts on a horse head, like a mask,
as one does, yes, of
and
course.
has sex with him with the horse head on, and in the second episode finds out that she has contracted a venereal disease you wouldn't understand, and a little chlamydia. And so they go to Planned Parenthood, the white sister and the black sister, and they get arrested because the white sister acts up and kicks some protester, and then they both go to jail. And you contrast between the white sister being treated like really like fun by the cops, and the black sister, who's from the same exact family, being horrified and spread open and felt up, and her wig's taken off and shaked, and that's my review.
This is all in the first episode?
That's sort of the first and second episode. But there's so much happening. I don't know how to sum it up other than I'm not going to stop watching. I've watched 2 episodes.
The horsehead thing, that's really got me. Like, why? Yeah. Any idea? Like, no.
Because she's goofy, because she feels invisible in the family. I mean, everything's kind of really right up front. Like, they are making social comments about liberals and about kids and about political correctness. But it kind of, yes, it doesn't have a lot of subtlety. I don't care about the characters, but in the 3rd episode, which is coming up, you see the model in just like tidy whities and a t-shirt. So I'm back for that because, you know, I'm looking at James when I look at you. The reviews are not particularly good. People are saying it's a mess. I'm saying it's a hot mess.
Okay.
And I'm going to watch. And I just felt I needed, because I spent so much time watching, I need to share that with our listeners.
Hit or mess. Get caught up on Here and Now on HBO Now or HBO Go.
If you dare, after that review.
And watch the show I gotta watch it for the horse's head. And watch the show every Sunday, 9 p.m. on HBO.
There you go.
Oh my God, number 3.
Number 3.
Well, I want to talk about the Joel McHale show with Joel McHale.
He's back.
Which I didn't even know.
Who is Joel McHale?
Joel McHale is hilarious and sexy. He was on The Soup. He hosted The Soup.
Oh, right.
He also had Community.
On NBC, that sitcom that wouldn't go away. No offense.
And
he was just in The Great Outdoors, this big CBS sitcom that did not do well. And where does he end up?
Now he's back on Netflix, and he's basically doing The Soup again.
Is it clips?
Yes.
Oh, we need that.
We do.
I loved The
Yeah.
Soup. I used to watch it every week. And, you know, I read a thing on 2Fab or whatever while I was reading TMZ. Do you know really why it went away?
No.
The Kardashians.
I heard about this.
Really?
Yeah, apparently the Kardashians didn't like him making fun of them on the same network. So,
Well, I read that Ted Harbert, he was interviewed recently in Variety, and Ted Harbert, who was the head of E! for a long time, when they first started, he was like, go for it. Make fun of us.
Of
you know,
course.
hands off. You have to go that way. And supposedly, they don't say who. It might be someone we know. I don't know. There was supposedly, and no one's confirmed this, but somebody at the head of E! said, don't make fun of the Kardashians. Lay off. He said when Ted Harbert was there, he'd get a call from Ted going, don't make fun of the Kardashians this week. They're really, like lay low for a week and he come back on. And Joel says in hindsight, and it's true, he goes, well, that's the end of the Soup, because if you don't make fun of, if you're a show that skewers other people, you have to skewer
You have to make fun of yourself,
and your own
exactly.
network. So, I don't blame the Kardashians.
I don't either.
You don't blame
for
them
anything.
anything.
No, I love them so much.
I kind of get why they would. But at the same time, it was never that bad.
But it's attention. It's like they have every right to say
Right.
back off and take a week off, and he has every right to come back and slam them hard.
But regardless, I loved this new show.
Okay.
And
So he's just taking clips from. That's the format, right? It's just clips
it's
with
clips.
comments.
And the one thing I didn't like is I was used to like all the inside jokes on The Soup. And it'll just take a while for this to get there. But
Well,
is
the
there an audience or is it?
yeah, there was an audience. And I've actually been to a taping of The Soup before. And the new audience is way bigger, I think.
Well, the studio at E, which we've shot in, the old studio,
Right.
was he couldn't get the audience on camera. Like there wasn't enough room.
Right.
It was a fire hazard. And this looks like they spent like $30 more a month.
Yeah.
On the there's folding chairs. You see a little bit of the audience, and he had lots. He has Kevin James drops by. There's still a lot of
Kevin Hart.
Excuse me. Kevin can wait. James, no. There is at the end he talks to he wants to say mankini, which was something they
yeah.
talked about, a guy in a bathing suit, a furry guy, but he stops himself because that's owned by E, so they call it Man in the One Piece or something like that.
Because they were in the
So
upside down,
They're
'cause
coming
Netflix.
right. They're coming right to the edge of doing exactly the same show. They have added international television because Netflix is an international channel, so there's like South Korean like clips and things of that nature.
All the people getting ran over.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh, I love it.
He goes,
It's hilarious.
He's like, no, he was like, we have only been doing this a month, compiling clips.
Yeah.
He goes, and South Korea, what we learned is they love people getting hit by cars. He goes, it's going to be upsetting, but it turns at the end. And it is like, you just see like, it's just people constantly dropping their phone, getting hit by a car, across the street, getting hit by a car.
He's like, this is only in 1 month.
Actually, I mean, that whole thing of dashboard cameras in cars overseas is really interesting. I mean, there is amazing, like Russia, there's a lot of like hilarious accidents and things.
These were fictional. These were all scripted car crashes.
Like
but,
from South Korean soap operas.
Yes, which is pretty good. Yes.
And
the only thing I'll say, and
really
Chelsea was the first to leave E and go to Netflix, and her show, which she kind of reimagined, was not successful ultimately after 2 seasons. And Joel McHale is at least doing what he's best at doing. I have to say, and it may be a generational thing, but there's something about, I used to always run into the soup. Like flipping channels, which I guess now you pick your shows a la carte. But there's something about like, will I actually take the effort to go watch that, or will I binge watch that? Will I watch that once a week? It comes out once a week, or is that something I'd like to run into? And maybe I just have to change my viewing habits.
I think it's a format that I've always loved, the clippimentary, just personally,
Yes,
and
I
I think
love
it's
it.
something. It's actually quite snackable. You can watch. It's low anxiety. It's not like you've got to follow a story all the way through. It's like, here's a bit, and if you don't like what's on, something else will be along in a minute.
Right.
I gotta say, the weird thing about Netflix is, statement of the obvious, but they seem to be just reviving everybody's old shows, like whether it's Queer Eye or whether it's this.
Fuller House.
It's like
He mentions that. There's a point where he gives a tour of the Netflix lobby and how great the food is, and he has lots of cameos. And somebody said, he goes, hey, I forget the actor. He runs into a sports guy who's opening pickle jars for people.
Oh yeah, I didn't know who that was.
He might be an
either.
athlete, and it's like Netflix is great. And he goes, here's an athlete who's just a professional athlete who's hired just to open your pickle jar. So it's like this bizarre thing. And he goes, wait, what are you doing here? He goes, how's things going? He goes, well, I actually got a show on Netflix. He's like, wow. Netflix finally ran out of new ideas. He goes, yep, they did.
Well, I mean, I bet a lot of the networks are like regretting. I wonder if they're now looking back, the other networks looking back at all their back catalogs, saying, "Oh, maybe we shouldn't have canceled that. Maybe we
Right.
should
I think there's more reality
revive
shows
that."
now than there was when it got canceled in 2015.
So that is Joel McHale's show with Joel McHale.
And by the way, Joel,
Redundantly titled.
yes, but and purposely, the Drag Race was a big part of the soup, and I'm just hoping we end up back on
Gay shows. If you're listening, Joel, please. Yes. You can stream the first episode now every Sunday, Netflix. Okay, so number 2.
Number 2.
Speaking of Netflix, I love The Crown.
Sure,
I just
everyone
binged
does.
Season 2, so I now have to wait another year for like season 3.
Yes.
But I discovered completely, like somehow you're like trying to do some work or something on your computer and you end up going here and then you go there and then suddenly your time has passed and I discovered this amazing story.
I hope it's true.
Me too.
Your track record
Yeah.
this week.
Okay, Princess Anne,
Elizabeth's
the Queen's
daughter,
yes,
yes.
the Queen's only daughter, in fact, kidnapped in 1974. Well, let me qualify. Attempted kidnapping, right?
The year of Patty Hearst.
She was, but it was actually 1 month after Patty Hearst was kidnapped. She was on her way back to the palace from a charity screening with her husband, Captain Mark Phillips, and in 1974, in March, Princess Anne and Captain Mark, they were it. They were the Diana and
Yes,
Charles.
they had just been
were like-
married.
they had just been married. She was an equestrian, a gold medalist. He was a gold medalist.
right,
They were
that's
they had their wedding. 500 million people had watched it, so they were the shit. This guy in a white Ford Escort overtakes the burgundy Rolls Royce, blocks it off, gets out, shoots the driver, shoots the bodyguard, and that's it. He's got Princess Anne. He opens the door, says, "You got to come with me." And this is why I love the story, because Princess Anne says, "Not bloody likely." So someone else, and by this time, I think a policeman comes on the scene. A Daily Mail reporter happens to be there, and he says, "I say, old chap," and the guy turns around and shoots him. 4 people were shot. No one died. 4 people were shot. He goes back saying, "You've got to get out of the car." She, Princess Anne, does a backflip somersault out of the car onto the other side to kind of distract him. He runs around the car. While he's running around the car, she jumps back in the car and slams the door. So they lock themselves in the car. And it's just an amazing story. And the thing is, I mean, I was, a teenager at the time. I don't remember this. I just don't remember this story. And a few years later, Princess Anne went on the chat show Parkinson, and it's like Letterman or and just it's hilariously droll. Talking, she says,
You
the
saw the clip,
Ian Ball. Yes, we'll post it on the Wow Report. It's on YouTube.
Okay.
He said. The man was sort of, she said, he was sort of telling her to get out of the car, and she said, not bloody likely, and he kept on remonstrating. She said it was a very irritating conversation, a tedious discussion. And she said, I was scrupulously polite. It seemed silly to be too rude at that point.
Royals.
Royals. I know exactly. I mean, I cannot wait for this whole episode for the Crown to catch up, because this is just going to be amazing. And eventually enough people kind of showed up, and she told him to get going. She said, go on, now's your chance. And he ran off. And her conclusion was pretty great. She said, your greatest danger is the lone nutcase. And really, I think that's so true, that we ascribe, also, we sort of think there's so many sinister forces and that they're so incredibly organized, and that there's sort of the terrorism is this sort of massive plan and campaign. Often it is just crazy, loony individuals. And I think that's important to bear in mind. He actually said he didn't know why he did it. He was locked up in a mental hospital for the rest of his life. He claimed that he wished to draw attention to the lack of facilities for treating mental illness under the National Health Service.
Did God talk to Jesus, talk to him by any chance, and tell him to kidnap Princess Anne?
Well, he was going to kidnap. He demanded they found the ransom note in his car after his arrest, and he wanted $3 million in £5 notes in 20 unlocked suitcases put on a jet to Switzerland, and the Queen had to get on the plane to authenticate it. So it was a slightly sort of sats. Anyway, we'll post the clip of Princess Anne.
That sounds fascinating.
Who's just marvelous.
All I can think of, and it's horrible, and I'm sorry, but Joan Rivers used to do a joke, and she do her Elizabeth Taylor jokes, and she had some others, and she'd be like, oh, Mick Jagger, those lips, he's got birth-bearing lips. He goes, oh, Princess Anne with that horse face. You ask her how old she is, she goes, knocks her anyway.
Well, no, Princess Anne, I mean, God bless her, but she didn't. How do you say? I mean, the whole thing is, there's something in it, she just wasn't the most beautiful princess.
Well, to be born into that family and have to be all.
I think yes. I mean, it's easier on the man, I think, in that family to be ugly.
Yeah.
Well, I feel, I just sense there's a hole, and I'm digging myself into it.
Let Joan Rivers.
We have to take a quick break. When we come back, the Resistor of the week, and of course, the number one thing this week that made us go, wow. So, Wow Report on Radio and SiriusXM.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. We've been counting down the top 10 things that made us go wow. This week, I'm here with Tom Campbell and Blake Jacobs. James is on a secret mission somewhere.
Yes, tunneling. He's building a subway system.
Spelunking.
And number one, right?
Number one.
The number one this week really are the students of Parkland who survived the shooting in Parkland.
We try to keep it light. We try to talk about stupid, superfluous things as much as possible.
And we did.
And we did. We do. I think we accomplished our goal up until this point. But it is so heartening and heartbreaking and everything else to see not the school shooting, but the reaction of the school shooting. That for the first time, it seems, the students are like, we're not going to fucking take it.
Yeah.
These kids are
Finally.
so articulate.
Well, and the politicians, Rubio and the governor, just all bullshitting on about, like, it's not guns that kill people, and it's too soon to talk about gun control.
It's the same thing as we've heard 8 million times before since.
And I am hesitant to believe that real change will happen. Right. I want to believe it in my heart, but this feels different. And this feels like it's kids, and it's like there is something optimistic about children and headstrong about children and naive in the good way, that they aren't just going to be like, what happened? And there are so many marches coming up that I'm trying to keep track of them.
Right. It is.
And I want to support all of them. And there's the first is March 14th. National School Walkout.
That's a month after the Parkland shooting.
Right. And that is 10 a.m. in every time zone, and it's going to last for 17 minutes, one for each victim who lost their life. We'll be out.
Teachers, students, administrators, parents, and allies will be allies.
Yeah.
Will walk out for 17 minutes.
Yeah.
One for every person killed at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. And that's being, I think, powered by the Women's March, Youth Empower. So it's the Women's March coming around.
Yeah.
March 24th, March for Our Lives. Student organizers, including those from Parkland, are planning March for Our Lives, a march in Washington, D.C., to call for school safety and gun control.
That's you can learn more marchforourlives.com. I think that sounds really
going to DC.
Well,
I would consider going.
Well, and they're asking people that can't make it to DC to do their own
to march in the city.
Yeah, march in their own communities.
I went to New York for DC for the Women's March. I might do it for this.
Yeah. And then
April 20th, National High School Walkout. This is just getting kids just don't want to do their tests anymore.
Well, this is like, I think they should just walk out and not come back until they change the law, because it's the 19th anniversary of Columbine, and it's like, what do you learn in school anyway?
They're the only ones I feel like that can make any change.
Exactly.
Like no one else is listening, so the only ones that can do anything is them. Yeah.
And I know it sounds like a lot, but I read something yesterday, or earlier in the week, on President's Day, there was a Slide Fire who make bump stocks had a special offer on fucking President's Day. And, it's a device you use to make turn a semi-automatic weapon into a fully automatic one. And they were selling it, and the discount code was MAGA, Make America Great Again, on President's Day.
And why do we need that?
We don't. But how sick and twisted and evil and murderous to promote, because gun sales happen to go up after these shootings. Because to promote a sale, it's
a minority of people that own guns, and we need to get to them somehow.
I have a question. I know that probably school shootings have happened for forever, but was Columbine like the first?
It's hard to remember.
It's the first one I remember because I was of age then, but
it was not the first. No. But even though
I think it was the worst at the time.
It was the worst, and they weren't nearly as regular an occurrence.
Right.
Or as
kind of kicked it off.
Deathly.
And the media coverage.
And they blamed Marilyn Manson for it, remember?
Yes, and the articulation of the children. That's what I remember. Remember the children just being like white-faced, telling what happened. And just hearing it for the first time, it seemed immediately from the victims.
Yeah.
My Uncle John, all my relatives, but my Uncle John, because I reposted, trying to make a difference in my Facebook. Not going to work. But that idea that, when the Second Amendment was written, muskets shot a bullet a minute. And now they can shoot, semi-automatic 400, 500. And he was like, right on, Tom. He was like, think about it. If our Second Amendment is to keep the government at bay, citizens can protect themselves from the government has, my Uncle John, thermonuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Ground-to-air missiles and all these things. So should we all just be armed? Should we have nuclear weapons?
We should have personalized nuclear weapons, probably in a selfie drone, delivered in a selfie drone format that you can just keep in your purse, and then deploy a thermonuclear device.
Yeah, you can control it from your Nest, from your home device,
from your iPhone.
Oh, thank you, Uncle John, for that clarity.
What is it, Aunt Mary? What does Mary have to say?
That's Mary's. She's just Uncle John too. She didn't say anything about that. There's not a lot of cross. At least I have both sides in the family. Anyway.
And that makes also our Resistor of the week, obviously, well, not obviously, but it's Emma Gonzalez, really.
She's the first one who captured our attention. There's so many of them speaking up now. I hate to just single out one. And they're so articulate. But Emma Gonzalez was the first one who's just poured it out there and grabbed our hearts. And let's try to do something to make a difference.
That's exactly right. That's all we have time for today. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Blake. We miss you, James.
We do, James.
Start your free trial for WOW's new streaming service, WOW Presents Plus.
Never a better time for self-promotion than right now.
wow-presents.com. Jasmine Masters class. Jasmine Masters class. Thank you.
It's hard to say.
Premieres, yes. It's life lessons and her take on etiquette and manners.
And that's on WOW Presents Plus?
Yes. Yeah. And there's new transformations with Jane St. James, new Sip with Chris, the amazing Chris Crocker.
Uh-huh.
And new fashion photo review following RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars.
Yay.
Trixie and Catcher Show, Wednesdays 10:30 Viceland.
Yes.
RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars, Thursday 8 p.m. VH1. And guys, you got to get your tickets for DragCon May 11th, 12th, and 13th at the LA Convention Center.
Anything else you want to plug?
I'm done.
Don't forget to watch Freak Show on Video on Demand.
Oh, that's
James's
right.
movie.
He's not here, so. Thanks for tuning in to Wow Report, Radio Andy, SiriusXM, anytime on the Sirius Radio app, or watch anytime on the Wow Report. Same time, same place, next week. Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go
Wow. Cheese.